Good morning, everyone. So, you know what I would like to see on a computer? Something that is absolutely critical. And I think all the chip manufacturers and all the motherboard manufacturers need to get on this. Because the first one, it can't be that complex. So, let me propose this. For all the people who know cars, what's the worst thing you can do to your car? Start it up. What's the worst thing you can do to your computer? Turn it off. And now that kind of sounds like, really? Well, when you turn off a desktop computer, and this is true for laptops too, when you turn it off, the computer is still hot and there is no circulatory system. There is no fans blowing. There is no cooling system blowing. That computer turns off. Those turn off and those chips are still hot. So let me show you mine. This is generally at idle speed. And so you could see my processor is sitting at 156 degrees. Now that doesn't sound too hot, but it's enough to burn you. You could fry an egg on that. It might take a while, but you could fry an egg on that. So yeah, my processor runs 156 degrees at idle. I'm not really doing anything on my computer. I mean, I've got some web browsers open, the studio is open, virtual machines are running, but usually this time in the morning, I'm not really hammering it other than doing video recordings. So yeah, my processor at idle, 156 degrees. Now I start gaming, I can push it up to 190 consistently. So yeah, chips are not rated to run very hot for extended period of time. Now the gaming processors, that a lot of the people are using, like the Ryzen 5s, Ryzen 7s, some of the Intel chips. So when you're gaming and if they run 180 to 190 degrees, that's actually normal. And this is why you need a very good cooling system. Preferably, if you're going to game, you're using a liquid cooling system. But what happens when the power turns off? Everything stops. That heat's got to go somewhere. And if that heat's not dissipating off that chip, eventually you're going to crack it. And this is particularly true for laptops, especially if you're running, I don't care if they're a dual core, quad core, 6 core, 8 core. Yes, they do make 8 core laptops. I've seen one in the shop. Especially for the laptop, they've only got an itty bitty little fan on it, or they might have two itty bitty little fans on it. You turn that laptop off, those fans stop, that heat's got to go somewhere. On a laptop motherboard, it's going to go across the motherboard, and eventually it will crack that motherboard because of the heat. It's kind of like throwing hot water, on your windshield in the middle of the winter. It's the opposite effect. You're going to take, something hot and put it in cold. Yeah, bad things happen. So Intel, AMD, work with the manufacturers of motherboards and do this. When you shut your PC down or your laptop down, and this is going to be true for Windows, Mac, Linux, whatever, put a 2-minute or a 3-minute timer delay on that cooling system. So if it powers off, short of a power outage, there's nothing you can do about that on a desktop unless you got a battery backup. Laptops, you've got a battery you can draw on. Let that fan run for 2 minutes or 3 minutes after that computer has been shut off, because that will increase the longevity of that processor and the motherboard for that matter. Because, like I said, when you turn a computer off, the fans stop. That heat's got to go somewhere. And most of the time, it's either going to warp or crack your processor, or it's going to start warping and cracking your motherboard. And so, yeah, take note, Intel, AMD, motherboard manufacturers. Put a little sensor on there. Power's turned off, but you still pull power off the power supply or off the battery. Run that fan for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, on shutdown. That way, that processor cools down sufficiently. I can't give you stats, and I know 150 to 190 degrees. Yeah, silicon's supposed to be designed to work that way, but longevity of the course of 2, 3, 4 years. I wish I had stats to back it up, but I'm sure I've seen motherboards and processors destroyed because they're turning on, turning off, especially in laptops. Can't prove it, but that's what I would like to see. Stop making them go faster for right now. I mean, Intel, get this latest chip out that you promised, but at this point, stop. I want you to add to the processor or to the motherboard probably have to be both, that when you lose power, that cooling system still runs for 2 to 3 minutes after you shut it off. Trust me, it'll sell. It'll be a selling point. Yes, it's going to cost it a little bit more, but it'll be a selling point, you know. Of course, we'll have to educate and train people when they shut off their computers, if they're still hearing their fans run, not to be alarmed. But that's okay. We can deal with that. Put some programming in there, that in the BIOS, most likely, that when the power shuts off, those fans still run. 2 minutes. Cool that chip down. In fact, tell the BIOS, run those fans at high speed for 2 minutes to cool that processor off, because I can't tell you, the worst thing to do to a computer is turn it off. Just like the worst thing you can do to a car is turn it on. Yeah. Manufacturers, please, put a sensor in there. Detects the power is off, still run those fans for 2 minutes. I don't care. I don't care if the battery is weak. If you only got 3% of your battery, still run those fans. I would rather have partial cooling than no cooling at all. So, excuse me, but that's my little rant. Hopefully Intel, AMD, motherboard manufacturers will take a listen to this. But yeah, put that in, please. I can't make you, but I could suggest it. You know, add a little piece of code to BIOS. Power turns off, fans still run for 2 minutes. Start down a countdown clock. And let those fans run as fast as they'll go for 2 minutes. Cool that processor off, because I can't prove it, but I'm sure it has happened where you've turned off a computer and over the course of time that heat's got to go somewhere, and I'm sure it's either damaged processors over the course of time or damaged motherboards over the course of time. Heat's got to go somewhere. Physics, you know, thermodynamics, I think that's what they refer it to. Add a delay to BIOS. Put those fans in high mode, 2 minutes, for 2 minutes after shutdown. Just my thoughts. That would be the suggestion I would make. And you can see, my processor had idle almost 160 degrees. Yeah. So, do that. If you found that useful, like and share across everyone, or all the social medias, especially if you could tag it into Intel and AMD, you know, and motherboard manufacturers. Yeah. If you got access to their Facebook pages, email addresses, whatever, tag that to them. Hopefully they'll go, oh yeah, why didn't we ever think of that? Because I've never seen a system that has a delayed cooling system on shutdown. No one, ever. If there's one exists, I would like to see it, but I ain't never seen it. Except for an independent system. You can't rig them that way, but they get a little expensive. Facebook, computer problems. There's our phone number. Give us a call. Give us a text. If you're in our service area, that's where we can go. Or you can come to us. Just call and make an appointment. Subscribe to the channel if you can. You guys have a great day. I will talk to you later.